Okay, so let's look at how to create an invoice. From the dashboard, you can go to the quick nav and select the invoice icon here on the quick nav, or you can go from the main menu under accounting, account methods, and invoices. So I'll go ahead and click there. Next, we're going to go up. This is the submenu bar at the top, and choosing the create invoice from the top left, we're going to click create invoice. We're going to choose a student, and we're going to leave the default start date and end date for the current month. And here we have an invoice. Now, by default, it's pulling the data off the calendar for scheduled sessions. That's the way I have it in the settings for this account. So you'll notice here there's a number of sessions that are scheduled for this month for a total of $832. You can also choose to show completed sessions. So you would show scheduled sessions if, for example, you are collecting prepayments from your clients. You want them to pay in advance of providing your services. If you invoice them for services rendered, of course, you could have this as your default, but in this case, we would just use show completed sessions. And you'll see that this particular client has 3 sessions that have been completed on their calendar. Also in the top here, it's handy. You can see what their account balance is right now, which gives you total services and the total payments made to date. Now, if, for example, you wanted to create a form of receipts and you weren't actually billing them, that maybe the client asked you for a receipt, what you can also do is you can come down here under payment history, and you could also click payment history. Okay, so you'll notice that when I did that, the payment history, no payments showed up, but we do know that there were payments, and that's because the payments came before the date that's listed. If we were to go back and probably select some time frame here. Now, when you select this time frame, these will turn off. So you need to turn it back on, and then you'll notice there's our payments that we said. Total payments, 242.62, and there they are. So you might want to use this if you're just going to be showing a receipt of the services rendered and the payments made if your client asks you. But let's just pretend for this example that we're going to be billing the client based on the history. So I just turned off payment history, showed completed. Now, so they currently own $124.80. Now, you have a couple of other options at this point. You can choose to save this as an invoice and keep it as a draft. The difference is with a draft, you can create an invoice, but the client won't be able to see it on their end if they happen to log in. You can create it with no email sent to the client. At this point, they would be able to see it if they happen to log in. You can send the invoice directly to the client, and you can send the invoice directly to the client and the administrator. Okay, so you can select any of those. Now, in addition, below here, you'll notice it's optional. If you happen to use Stripe with us and you have a Stripe account, you can also bill their credit card on file. You would merely just type in 124.80 here, and then you would say create invoice. And so what that would do is it would automatically bill the client that amount and track the invoices paid. If you haven't saved their credit card on file yet, this form here will be a little bit different. It'll ask you for their credit card information. So if you store that kind of information on your client, you can take advantage of that if you have a Stripe account. Bear in mind that any credit card information is not stored on the Bizstim servers. It is only stored through Stripe, and that comes with a full suite of PCI compliance. So it's highly secure. I think I've touched on everything here. I'll just go back in terms of account balance is typically used when you're prepaying, you're showing scheduled sessions. What account balance adjustment will do is if the client, because you're doing prepayment, you want to make sure that if you're charging for the current month's scheduled sessions, if they do have an account balance on their account, that'll show up on this invoice as either a credit or a debit. If it shows up as a credit, obviously it'll come off the amount that's owing. And if it shows up as a debit, then it'll be added to the amount owing. And then also, thirdly, if you were to choose add line items, what that will do is it will turn off their service history, and you can add additional line items. You'll see there, and you can add more. And you'll notice the numbers are increasing. If you go the add line item route, you won't be able to show completed or scheduled sessions, but what it will allow you to do is create your own invoice irregardless of the session data that is stored on the calendar. So I'm just going to go back and I'm going to show completed sessions. Let's see here. Oh, right. And then come back here, service history. There's our 124.48. I'm going to say save no email. And I'm going to actually track it as unpaid. Now, if I was going to charge them, or if they've already paid, maybe by check or by cash, you can just click that as paid, and you'll notice it'll be paid. Or if it's for a receipt purpose, you could also track it as void. I'm going to track it as unpaid. I'm not going to bother with this. I'm just going to create the invoice. So there, you'll notice here, we have that invoice that's saved for 124.80. We can go ahead and look at it again. View invoice, and there it is. Okay. Now, if we go back to those unpaid invoice list, you can also review that invoice as a PDF. And the PDF will be listed there, at which point you can download, you can print, and you can email also off to your client if you wanted to do that. Instead of send it to their email address on file. So that is how you create an invoice with Bizstim Software Solutions. Thanks for your time. I'll see you in the next video.